Hello and welcome to Catholic News Roundup. I'm Christine Niles. Today's May 30th, 2026. Here are this week's top stories. An anti-Catholic scandal in professional baseball. O'Keefe Media Group exposed the Washington Nationals discriminating against devout Catholic starting pitcher Trevor Williams. In June 2023, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, a group that routinely mocks and blasphemes the Catholic faith, was honored at the LA Dodgers Stadium. Williams spoke out at the time.
We cannot stand idly by while our Lord gets mocked. And before I hit send, you try and do as much research as you can, right? You see the horrific videos that were posted of them. You read about what they were trying to do, these things that are deeply offensive to us. And then you see that, well, they're doing these things. They're raising money for this, that, and the other. They've been doing it for over 30 years. But it was the point when the Dodgers re-invited them after knowing very well what they've been doing for the last 30 years.
Washington Nationals Communications Director Sean Hudson reacted.
One of our pitchers, Trevor Williams, he is very Catholic. He has I'm not religious at all. He's super Christian Catholic. All these tattoos that mean a lot. Last year, I don't understand the full scope. The Dodgers had a group out to the stadium who were drag queens who sometimes dressed up as nuns. He went on a social media this is wrong, this is my religion, you all are mocking it. So we don't use him because of that, we don't use him on social. When they're is a hot dog a sandwich? And the players come up, you know what I mean? We don't ask him.
Not only is he potentially violating federal law, Hudson admits he's a hard-left communist.
I always just cards on the table, would define myself as very far left-wing. There is a Join the Communist Party poster up in my kitchen. When we go to my boss's holiday party, we all talk about how left-leaning we are.
After the expose, the Nationals fired Hudson. Kelsey Reinhardt, president of Catholic Vote, defended the Catholic pitcher. Quote, Williams stood up when the Los Angeles Dodgers chose to honor a group infamous for mocking our Lord, Our Lady, the Eucharist, priests, and religious sisters. Catholic Vote is now asking the DOJ to investigate whether the Nationals violated federal anti-discrimination laws. It's led to President of Baseball Operations Jason Sinaraja to apologize.
First off, I want to say unequivocally, we're not anti-Catholic. I myself am Catholic. We do not track people's Google search history. We do not hide players from social media. Even just last week, we featured several players, including Trevor Williams, actually, on Instagram as part of their visit to the Museum of the Bible. All that being said, we're horrified by the comments that were made on the video. The comments don't reflect us as an organization, our values, and who we are. We took action right away, and the individual is no longer employed by the team. I think I want to also take a minute and apologize to Trevor Williams, who's been brought into this. We feel awful that he's been dragged into this situation, and hope that this isn't a distraction as he gets ready to get back on the field, which we're excited to have him back on. Trevor's a valued member of the organization.
In church news, Pope Leo is telling clergy to stop the liturgical nonsense. In his Wednesday general audience, the Holy Father urged priests, quote, to respect the texts and norms of the liturgy, going on to explain that legitimate progress in the liturgy must also preserve sound tradition and that certain elements of the liturgy can never change because they are divinely instituted. It's part of his ongoing catechesis on Sacrosanctum Concilium, the Vatican II document on the sacred liturgy. Pope Leo has shown a more positive attitude towards the traditional liturgy, urging the French bishops several months ago to show greater welcome towards those attached to the Latin Mass. As a result, this year during the historic Chartres Pentecost pilgrimage in France, attended by 20,000 young Catholics, private Latin Masses, which were banned last year, were now allowed to resume. The Coptic Orthodox Church is resuming talks with Rome. They made the announcement May 22nd. The members of the Holy Synod decided to resume theological dialogue with the Catholic Church following the assurances regarding the non-blessing of same-sex couples, which were expressed during the telephone conversation between His Holiness Pope Tawadros II and His Holiness Pope Leo XIV on Friday, May 15th of this year. The Coptic Church, originally founded in Egypt, broke off talks under Pope Francis after his controversial document Fiducia Supplicans, which allowed the blessing of same-sex couples, even as it forbade the blessing of their union. This comes shortly after Pope Leo appeared to downplay Fiducia Supplicans when asked what he thought of German clergy blessing same-sex unions.
The Holy See has already spoken to the German bishops. The Holy See has made it clear that we do not agree with the formalized blessing of couples, in this case homosexual couples, as you ask, or couples in irregular situations, beyond what was specifically, if you will, allowed for by Pope Francis in saying all people receive blessings. When a priest gives a blessing at the end of Mass, when the Pope gives a blessing at the end of a large celebration like such we had today, there are blessings of all people.
The Society of St. Pius X has named its 4 future bishops. On May 26, the SSPX announced it had submitted the dossiers of 4 clergy to the Holy See, who will be consecrated on July 1st. The consecrations lack the required papal mandate, and the Vatican has made clear the bishops will incur automatic excommunication. One of the named clergy, French priest Father Michel de Sivry, is superior of the Benelux district, which covers Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. He's been accused by the SSPX Victims Collective of minimizing and ignoring sex abuse. And when asked by a layman whether the SSPX could assure him that his donations would not go towards lawyers defending sexual predators, Sivry could not answer. The SSPX has been dogged by numerous abuse scandals, especially in the last several years, as we've extensively documented, with several prominent European and American clergy arrested, convicted, and imprisoned for child sex abuse. Cardinal Gerhard Mueller, former Vatican doctrine chief, weighed in, quote, "The appropriate solution would be for the Society of St. Pius X not to presume to dictate to the Pope the conditions for its full reintegration into the Catholic Church, but rather, in accordance with the First Vatican Council, to which it so readily appeals, to acknowledge that one cannot be fully Catholic without full communion with Pope Leo XIV. And in the Middle East, Israeli police tried to stop a Catholic festival. On Friday, in the West Bank city of Taibe, Israeli forces intimidated and harassed organizers preparing for a festival in honor of Mary. This in spite of the fact that organizers had acquired all necessary permits. The Vulnerable People Project reports that a military force arrived in the early morning hours and issued a cease and desist order, followed by a second force 30 minutes later. Armed forces not only sent a drone, they also exploded stun grenades, causing the Christian residents to fear for their safety. The festival was only allowed to move forward after Latin Patriarch Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa called Israeli authorities. Said Jason Jones, founder of the Vulnerable People Project, quote, "A permitted Catholic festival honoring the Blessed Virgin Mary was nearly shut down by armed military intervention before it even began." A crew from the Vulnerable People Project is documenting events from Taibe on behalf of the campaign SaveWestBankChristians.com. You can go there to follow them, and please pray for their safety. Taibe is the last fully Christian town in the West Bank and has seen increasing attacks by settlers who continue their assaults, vandalisms, and arsons there as well as throughout the West Bank. These attacks aren't limited to humans, but also include the torture and killing of cats, dogs, and sheep. The situation is so dire it's led to numerous countries calling out West Bank violence. The near-daily attacks, which include assaults on Christians, are often allowed by Israeli police, who often turn a blind eye, or in some cases, even assist the settlers. In a rare move, 9 countries, including Canada, Australia, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, and the UK, issued a joint statement this week condemning settler violence, calling on the Israeli government to stop the attacks. The Netherlands and Spain have taken the extra step of restricting trade from illegal West Bank settlements, with Ireland soon to follow suit. To learn how you can help, go to SaveWestBankChristians.com. That's SaveWestBankChristians.com. And turning to Poland, the country may soon recognize gay marriage. The topic was brought up at a government meeting last week where officials discussed the legal status of gay couples who marry abroad, then choose to live in Poland. Poland is now considering changing the templates for marriage certificates to include same-sex couples, with Minister of the Interior Marcin Kierwiński saying, quote, "I will, of course, sign this regulation." Last November, the EU Court of Justice ruled that member states must recognize same-sex marriages, even if their own country's law bans such marriages. Poland is a traditionally Catholic country whose constitution defines marriage as only between a man and a woman. The first clinic in U.S. history will open for detransitioners. Texas Children's Hospital will dedicate a clinic to ex-transgenders. It's part of a legal settlement with the Justice Department after the hospital was charged with fraudulent billing practices to cover its gender transition treatments. The hospital is also paying $10 million and firing the doctors who harmed children. The hospital will provide free health care for the first 5 years to those wanting to reverse transgender procedures. This comes after 2 multi-million-dollar lawsuits were successfully brought by detransitioners against their doctors for causing them harm. And in other good news, Northern Ireland will host history's first worldwide Marian procession. On June 13th, the Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, Derry will be the site of a major procession, with more than 60 parishes across multiple continents joining, with acts of Eucharistic adoration, Mass, and their own processions. Bishop Donald McKeown has given his blessing and is asking as many as possible around the world to join. To learn how, go to worldwidemarianprocession.com. That's worldwidemarianprocession.com. That is this week's Catholic News Roundup. Please go to stellamaris.media to sign up to our email list for the latest news and updates. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless your week. I'm Christine Niles.